Boker Tov, Yom Tov, Zarim Tovim, and Laila Tov. I hope this finds you well no matter where you are at. That was, by the way, good morning, good day, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Carrie, and I'm going to speak from my heart today, which is really where I want to be speaking continually. This is not going to do any good if I speak from my head and bypass my heart. Because what would be the point of sharing then? This last Saturday we were going over the last verse in the wise and foolish virgins parable. And I just kind of wanted to bring a couple things home in really summarizing this verse. And I know that if you're like me, then you've probably wrestled with some of these verses in the past with fear. And the way this ends is Mathew 25:13. It says in the John Eldridge translation, "Be wakeful, therefore, for you know not that day nor the hour." And the King James Version actually put, "Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh." Well, first of all, I want to point out to you guys that the Son of Man cometh was something that King James added to the verse. The Son of Man cometh is nowhere to be found in the verse in Aramaic whatsoever. That was a liberty that they took upon themselves to add that in. So it's really about, "For you know not that day nor the hour." But when we were looking at it, we saw that the whole premise of this verse was really about waking us, stirring us up, because mankind, twice, referring to the sacred writings in Hebrew, it said that we were put to sleep, a tardime, a trance-like state. And you've heard many spiritual people say, we need to wake up, becoming awake, and really what that looks like. And really when we wake up, it's a place of guarding and protecting in a watch. Seeing what's going around, what's going on. Because ultimately, our destiny is oneness unity. But if you're not aware of the system of duality in the game that's being played, you're never going to wake up out of duality, where we have all these narratives that are vying for our attention and our emotional investment, per se, so that we can keep it going. The narratives in the Matrix. So this was about waking us up. Being able to see this. And in this verse, it was very interesting that it was waking up to the realization, yes, of oneness unity, but that we make up the great house, which would literally be the word for temple, but in its meaning, it's the great house. So we're waking up to the fact that we are the great house, and that we were once really weak and needy because we didn't have this, and we had this illusion of separation, but we really are waking up into the fact that we are making up this great house, that we have all been part of this great house in oneness unity. And that if we don't wake up to this, it keeps us in a place of need and lack. And really the resolve of that is going to the inward self on the inside to have these things revealed, because really the greatest instructor is paying attention to our heart. That is, if you've had it pierced and you're living from the place of the heart, because some people do choose to bypass that. But as we moved on about knowing this time that we're in is really that it's going to be made known to us and be very evident in the time that we live in. And I'm pretty sure that 2020 was a huge wake-up call for many people. And it was intentional, because it was meant to drive us inward as a catalyst. And so in this place of knowing, it's recognizing that we begin to judge ourselves on the inside, seeing the futility on the outside, the things of madness and vanity, so that we would have the inward eye to see and know experientially of all this information that we're being bombarded with, of really what matters and what doesn't matter, what truly is eternal and not just a temporal narrative. Because it's when we go through this door of the inward man that it is meant to bring us life. Life isn't going to be found on the outside. That's all temporal. Our earth suits are temporal. Our external love many times is temporal. But when we go inside, that's where we tap into the fountain of answers for those that choose to turn and seek that way. And we were even seeing that within this verse and knowing that it is possible to become the Word made flesh, just like Yeshua. But we have to go that inward journey. We have to have the eye of knowing on the inside, that fountain of the deep, where we're literally taking like a bucket that is dangling down and we're scooping up this deep water, this water that's within this deep well, this reservoir that exists within us of flowing water, so that we can connect to it through that spiritual path. Because really it's about the strength of becoming one covenant, one strong love, the strength of one. And when we looked at the word day, it was about the day that the teaching instructors of light in the way of one would come on the scene. Because this wasn't just a day as in a normal day you wake up. This literally is speaking about something that will be made evident. So if you've been wondering why we've been having so many people out there speaking about this oneness principle, it's because we're in that day. The teaching shepherds of light are coming to instruct and have been here to instruct your heart. It's interesting to see that this word for day had an added lamed on the front, and lamed is considered the center of the sacred languages. It stands higher than the rest, and it's connected to heart. It was literally the Hebrew word for heart is leb, lamed bet. And so it's the teaching and the instruction of the heart. And because we have a bet on the end of leb, it means inside. So teaching and instructing the inward man through the heart to build ourselves in that day, the day of the teaching of the oneness principle. Because really when you get into that oneness principle, not only have you reaped 100-fold measure of the seed that has been planted, but it has the possibility of becoming 1,000-fold. Because really, the 1,000-fold anointing is the Mashiach, is the Christ anointing manifested through you. Isn't Jesus Christ living in you? It's you becoming the one who carries the anointing because you found oneness unity. That is the Christ anointing. To know that we are one, just like Yeshua said, I and my Father are one. We are all one. It is my will and desire that they would know that I am in you and you are in me and we are in them and they are in us. That is the anointing. So the day would be known and be made evident when more and more people began speaking about this oneness unity. Because this is a revelation that we're meant to connect to. And really what it does is it pierces us. And we connect in this place of humility because we chose to be teachable. Because we needed to be taught and learn the way of one. It's not something that's innate, because the ego tells us that we're separate. And, there's reasons for the ego. I think the ego has been very helpful, but it's also been a hindrance. If we don't rise out of the beast ego nature, the things that we do that harm one another, because when we're in that place where we don't realize that we're harming another, but we're really harming ourselves. We're not looking at things in the oneness principle, and our actions may not be reflecting the unification, because ultimately the goal when the Mashiach anointing is activated is that everything that we do, the work and deed of our hands, the things that we do in our daily living, the things that we say and that we speak and we walk out, is bringing unity, not division. Taking thoughts captive and seeing our daily interactions, because all those daily interactions are a gift. A gift as a reflection, so you can see what's going on inside of you, whether you're being triggered by somebody or being lifted by someone. It's all about the heart condition. Hence why that instruction, lamed, bet, the instruction of the heart, is so important. And that's why we would recognize the day, because it would be the day where the oneness unity principle is being taught to instruct our heart. Because there are many of us that are tired of division. There's many of us that are wanting to have the fullness of unification to be present. I believe that's pretty much everyone's desire who is connected at the heart level, is to be able to see this manifest. But it's going to take us standing in that place of humility and meekness, power under control, where we've dealt with our beast ego nature. And now we're becoming less and less of self and entering into the we as one. You don't lose your identity. You become something greater, a part of the whole, and recognizing being a part of the whole. It is such a great honor when this revelation comes, and then you can begin walking it out within your relationships, especially if you can identify it and begin walking in it within your partnerships, and spousal or significant others. This is really where it becomes sustainable, because you're literally the embodiment of that. And so everything that you are doing is bringing about oneness, unity, and not for selfish gain, just because you are love, and this is what love does. So when it says that we're not knowing the hour, time, and the moment, it's not the fullness of what is being shared here. Because as long as you are in a place of being teachable and humble, and your heart is open for instruction, it will be revealed to you the way of oneness, unity. And it will be evident for those who have entered into that place. And it's going to happen, and is happening, in the time of the greatest fire. The greatest density of that which we've ever walked through is here and now. It's in this moment, right now. As the time and the period is very, very short. It's not meant to be an extended time of suffering. I think we've endured. We've done plenty of that. Especially if you take in consideration reincarnation, how many times we've gone through these loops. But we are in that greatest compression right now, and the fire has been intense. But again, that is meant to instruct our heart, so that we could see that inward fountain of knowing on the inside, the fountain of the deep that resides within us, the power to dig deep and to deal with the fallen flesh, the ego nature, to be able to bring it into something that is into the place of neutrality, not being emotionally tossed to and fro by the waves of the narratives that are being thrown at us, so that we can be marked as one who's changed. That through time and allowing instruction to happen and walking through the fire, we've been changed, and our frequency has been changed. We've been marked as being different, only because the vibration of our nature, of our being, is something different. It's like new flesh, something that has risen above those lower beast animalistic natures and entering into what? Oneness unity. It's really the place of the expansion of our heart. Because when our heart is expanded, we have greater capacity to love and to love diversity. Understanding that we can overstand in this position of duality, in being able to unite by celebrating our differences. Because the differences are just a different fractal of you, expressed in a different way. Because we're all one. We all have the potential of doing a great many things. But our greatest potential lies in unifying as one body, as one love, as one people. Humanity in all of its different shapes and colors, and the diversity and the beauty of our experiences, choosing to not see us as divided, but as connected and as united. Because the power is within us to change the narratives. If we want to stay in duality, we can, because it's an experience, but a lot of us are done with that. So not knowing the day of hour is not true. We recognize the day and the hour when our heart is being instructed in the way of one, and there are many people that are doing that right now. It's not just one. It's not just another guru that's needed. We don't need any more gurus. We need to become one. We need to become the answer. We need to become the resolve. Just simply by becoming as is in our being. Because in our being, if we're not striving and we're not searching, because again, that's just the ego doing that. If we're just in the place of being as to who we are and being our authentic self, taking off the masks, liberating ourselves from all of these narratives in the grand theater that is playing out before us, and come in humility and meekness with the heart intent of becoming one and unifying through an amazing fabric of love, the world will change. So we start with us, and we start within. That's what that whole parable is ending up like. It's uniting us and waking up to this truth and recognizing and knowing that, and being acquainted with, that we are in the day and the hour where our hearts are being instructed in the way of one, because we've gone through the greatest fire. That was the whole reason of the catalyst. It's the whole reason why it manifested. For no other reason than for us to seek within to get the answers, and realizing that we are done. Many of us are fed up with duality. We've learned what we needed to, and we want to move on into the oneness unity, radically shifting our perceptions and not dividing anymore of those who are more illuminated and those who aren't, because we're all one. And I really subscribe to that, where we go one, we go all, way before that was ever used by the Q movement. A decade ago, that became branded on me, and I didn't even realize the significance of it, because the way it was utilized in politics was still using it in division. And we're going beyond that. We're moving beyond that. We're moving into the sovereignty of the Aleph, the strength of one, or one strength. The one who is strong is one who unifies and sees the unity principle, so we can activate the Mashiach, walking in the Christ anointing and knowing that we are one. If that's our choice, if we want to continue moving on in our growth of where we're walking in the Christ anointing, that way we become better than we are right now. We have the possibility of doing great and fantastic things, but just think about how much greater and more fantastic it would be if we truly were united with one heart, one love, one strength, the strength as one. embracing the Aleph principle and becoming as that, as strong leaders in the way of one. That is the greatest thing that we can do with the legacy of Yeshua, which he left, was to become that which he was teaching us, not as a system worshiping him and lifting him up. He was trying to lift all of humanity up into the way of one, to grasp a hold of the concept of the Aleph by becoming it. He demonstrated it. He taught his disciples that. And I think that most of them finally really got it after he was no longer here, because he was too much of a stumbling block to be here. Again, I feel like those who are good teachers become obsolete, or else they become worshipped. And that's not unity. That's why I said we don't need any more gurus. We just need to become our authentic self. And just love, because that's what we're here to do. Shalom, shalom, and namaste.